To any law enforcement officials out there, this is not an admission of guilt.
And the names have been changed to protect the guilty. Welcome to the first inaugural television show podcast. We don't actually have a name for the group.
Watch list.
I think
that's actually not bad.
That's definitely been like a 1990s TV show about TV shows. It's not stuff.
Moving on.
But anyway,
what if we called it like America's Most Wanted?
America's Most Wanted television shows?
America's Least Wanted.
America's Least Watched.
No, because we started off with like two major, or at least a major television show. So that doesn't make sense.
Anyway, today we're talking about the Orville, the Disney Fox show from creator Seth MacFarlane.
To be fair, it was a Fox show before it was the Disney show.
That's true.
Okay, so
but Disney, we acknowledge your ownership of therein.
Eric acknowledges the ownership of Disney and the future of our entertainment. So we all got together at the end of 2017, and we decided we were going to watch during December the Orville, which is Seth MacFarlane's new Fox television show. It is a sci-fi satire sitcom. And it's very much based off of, or at least in my opinion, is very similar to a Star Trek format. So we all watched the first season. Excuse me. And overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good show. I thought it was funny. It was topical. It really kind of hit all the major peaks of a quality sitcom for the modern era.
Before we get into any kind of conclusions on if it was good,
well,
let's talk about something.
I said I enjoyed it. I didn't say it was good. Sure.
Well, before we get to that, was this a comedy or was this a drama?
That's a hard question.
I think it was a modern representation of what you could expect real people to go through and act like on a spaceship. No one was trying to contain some high level of professional composure. So I felt like the entire time it was designed to be very relatable.
You say it was millennials in space?
Yeah.
But that aspect was also made fun of on the ship during at least one episode that I can think of off the top of my head.
I mean, if it's self-aware of its appeal, that's fine.
Well, that's a lot of Seth.
I think
that is Seth.
I think to answer Jay's question, I think what I would say is that it is neither a comedy nor a drama. It is a satire, and therefore, as a satire, it can touch on both comedic and dramatic elements to weave a story. So I don't think it's fair. I mean, especially in the modern times, I don't think it's fair to relegate a sitcom to just being a comedy or have a show that's just a drama. Because a lot of times these shows kind of infuse both. Because this is mostly comedy. It was, I would say, like 70% comedy, and then there were romantic elements thrown into the story.
Is this a no spoiler cast?
No, everything's fair.
There will be spoilers.
There will be spoilers. Get over it.
Okay, so for instance, as an example, a dramatic point in the episode would be when they wanted to change the sex of the child. That's drama. That's hitting a major culture point, and that's.
But it was also comedic in the fact that there was this strain between Western civilization and the idea of like, you know, making sure that you don't, you know, change the sex of a baby without its permission, knowledge, or consent, and then a completely different culture. So like these are very serious situations, but it was funny. Like they had a trial, and it was a comedic trial, you know. Mm-hmm. The crew's reactions, ooh, you know, to every time they would say it, even.
Like to me, the more I watched it, the more it felt like this kind of Franken show where I don't know how much you guys know about like the production of it, but one of the main writers and producers was this guy named Brandon Braga, and he is a big Star Trek vet. He wrote and directed some of the best episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. So he was they brought him on board as like this sci-fi veteran. So it felt like we had a foundation of sci-fi that worked, and then Seth MacFarlane came in, and he was like, all right, now I'm going to make it funny in my own Seth MacFarlane way.
Pause. Hold that thought. Would you say, well, first, I think it's a sign of diligence to bring on the veteran. I can respect that factor of like, hey, you know what, we're moving into something. We want to do it right. Let's bring on the veteran. So I feel like kudos to them for bringing in the good talent. So are you saying that Seth MacFarlane kind of
super glued his comedy on top?
Noodled it up, like kind of took a good blend of peanut butter and said it needs, I don't know. It just.
You think it was better before?
Was it
I think
unnecessary?
Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work. Because I don't know about you guys, but as I was watching through it, I actually watched through it a couple of times. And on the second time, I found myself enjoying the show more when Seth MacFarlane wasn't on the screen. Like, I liked the episode where the doctor and her kids get lost with the robot. Because, like, Seth MacFarlane, he's not really in a lot of it. It's like, they're just kind of like, oh, we need to find the doctor. And, like, I
don't know. I really like the episode where Seth MacFarlane and his what's the captain's name?
His name's Ed Mercer.
Mercer. Okay, so when Mercer and what's the best friend? The guy, the drunk driver.
The ginger pilot.
The ginger pilot.
I just referring to him as ginger pilot.
All right, so please
sorry, viewers.
Sorry, all viewers who are.
If you've seen the show, you know anyway.
We can't remember the name of stuff right now. But whenever they get stuck on the alien spacecraft, and they're having to sneak around the church, and they're having to use the technology to cover
I hated
themselves.
that episode.
Really, I love that episode. Like, I thought it was a very buddy cop kind of style, or at least it was a buddy comedy, and I like buddy comedies. And to me, that was a fun aspect. I don't know. I historically hate Family Guy, Cleveland Show, all these shows that Seth MacFarlane has done. I've never been a fan. Maybe the first 2-3 seasons of Family Guy. But
it's a style of comedy that South Park put in a very good box.
Yeah, that's true.
Surface level jokes that kind of almost a random.
Well, I felt like these were, because he had an overarching story. He had a real medium for it. His comedy came out a lot better than in Family Guy.
Well, there is an overarching story to Orville. I can't say that it's not almost singular in nature, where you can't just pick an episode.
That's true. No,
and just start watching.
It's definitely Star Trek every time. Because each one had its own little conflict that was resolved.
It was a beginning and end. It was all wrapped up by the end.
But are you saying you can't watch it, or you don't need to watch it in order, or you?
Yeah, you don't need to watch it in order. I mean, there may be one or two things that kind of oh, wait, what?
Like apart from the relationship between the captain and Kelly, and that one episode with the krill, where at the end, they have the female krill captured, and she's like, "Oh, you'll be seeing us again." Like, apart from that, that was really the only ongoing story. I guess they promoted.
I wish they
the Navigator
more of an overarching arc in season 2, because even Star Trek, they had long-standing enemies that just kind of came back. Like, for instance, Borg or Klingon, and I mean, those became massive in the universe, to where people learn their languages.
I think that's what the krill is. That's sort of what they've been set up.
We didn't see them anywhere near enough in season 1 to
other than Seth MacFarlane's famous one-liners, how much of the story did he have control of? Because there was some humor aspect of whenever it first started. I was asking myself, why are we watching this awkward cheat scene? How necessary is this really going to be? Because I thought that was going to be one quick isolated joke.
And it was really the basis for the whole
story.
Yeah,
right. And so immediately went to 1 year later. So is that a Seth MacFarlane joke? Did he frame how much framework of the entire series?
I could see Seth MacFarlane sitting in a room being like, this is what I'm seeing, guys. Is the captain, he comes home, and his girlfriend is cheating on him with a blue alien, and he gets blue stuff squirted all over his face, and he's really pissed off about it, and they get a divorce, and life is just shits, and his entire career is spinning out of control, and so his ex-wife gets him a job as a captain. But here's the kicker, guys. Here's the kicker. You listening? Here's the kicker. She is his commanding officer. So now, once again, he's forced back into a personal relationship with the person who broke his heart just a year earlier. I think it's a phenomenal idea for a show. I think that Fox is just going to eat it up, as they eat up all of the garbage.
And that was
it's not a horrible premise. I kind of.
It sounds like a drunk premise. It sounds like they were all drinking one night after making the episode of Family Guy, and they were like, "We can make a sci-fi show."
But I really appreciate.
Oh my god!
Half of I want to say almost any good idea has to have a culmination of parts. So it takes someone to delegate that. And so I appreciate that Seth MacFarlane culminated this idea. However much he did, well, I don't know. But, I mean, it says created by, so I assume he had the original idea and he said, hey, you know what, let's do some quality stuff. But I'm going to get mine in too. So I feel like I appreciate, hey, you know what, you did good on the delegation and bringing it to fruition. But I almost feel bad watching your bad jokes because I don't know if I can do better. Like, so watching it, I almost feel he's more human because the jokes are like, ew, man, like that barely worked. And so, but it's cool. I feel like I'm watching a buddy. Yeah, because he has.
You're watching everyone's friend.
He's shamelessly doing his one-liners.
Yeah.
Seth MacFarlane.
I think he loves his one-liners.
I think he does.
I think it's like Mitch Hedberg.
It's
Mitch
his
Hedberg had to love every single one of his jokes.
I feel like he face palms that. I feel like if you watch it, he'd be like, "Oh."
Well, did you watch him host the? What was it?
We got your boobs. We saw your boobs.
Yeah,
I saw your boobs.
like he is not afraid to go straight.
No, he is not.
And I mean, he threw some jokes. He threw some Harvey Weinstein jokes before Harvey Weinstein's scandal broke.
True.
Like he was like, "Oh yeah, we don't need another one of those going around." You know, like he said stuff, you know, that was edgy and was relevant. And even we didn't know how relevant it was because it was really he was talking to the stars.
But I think for me, there were moments where like those little quips worked, like the one where they're doing like they're on Star Trek, they call it the holodeck. I don't know what they call it here. They're on the holodeck and like they're doing like the old West thing.
Yeah.
And like the old banditos are like, oh, we're gonna solve this with a dance off, and they start playing Girls Just Want to Have Funny.
Right.
Like I laughed out loud at that. I thought that was great.
You thought that was great. I thought that was one of the perfect examples of a bad joke.
You hated that?
Yeah, I hated it. I was like of all the directions, like it was a wrench for the sake of a wrench.
Well, see, I think my perfect.
That's great. Yeah.
I think my perfect example of a joke that really got me, and I've just like remembered this joke through the entire series, was whenever they got shot. Like something had happened, they had been taking damage, and the captain calls for a damage report. Yeah, and she's like, we've taken damage to this sector and this sector, and instant so-and-so spilled soy sauce on his pants. And he's like, wait, what?
He put that in a damage report?
Put that in a damage report?
Like, put that in the script?
Yeah. He's like,
I thought that was fun.
It was a great joke. I thought it was a fantastic joke. I felt like that was one of those moments.
Satirical nature.
Well, that's the millennial
It
moment.
was a human element. It was a human element of, you know what, someone on a space shuttle, you know, you're surrounded by the same 300 people every day. Let's get a little bit silly.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I like that they brought in a little bit of like humor of like reality, where like there's one who's like, open a channel. He starts talking immediately. And like the communications officer's like, oh, I didn't actually open it. He's like, wait, do I talk now?
right.
Because every conference call you've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked when Ginger Pilot was flying in. This is one of the scenes I saw.
His name's Gordon, by the way.
Gordon. Good job. Gordon. This is one of the scenes I saw last night. Like just a 15-minute little window of awakening. But they were flying in on the. Well, what's the Klingon?
The Krill?
No, not the Krill. The second officer. What's his race? The single gender race.
Oh, Mocklin?
The Mocklins. They're flying to the Mocklin planet and they're doing like the bomb testing. And then he's like, I'm gonna need some extra pants when we land. And she's like, he's joking. He's like, no, I'm not. and so I feel like that, and my other favorite moment was when the security officer, what's her name?
Alara.
Good job.
We watched these last month, so.
Well, I got both my phones recording, and you got the cast right in front of you. So, but Alara, she goes and takes tequila shots.
Mm-hmm.
That was so cool.
Mm-hmm. Like in the middle of the crisis.
Well, like Gordon, he had the beer. That was irresponsible. And like, you're gonna have beer on your breath as a first impression.
Yeah. The
tequila shots, that was real. Like, dude, I need to like take the edge off. And so I could see a acting captain actually doing that. And you would never see that on
Star Trek.
I don't know if you would never see it, But I feel like they would consider that too crass.
Especially for someone her age, probably.
Well, maybe not. I don't know.
She looks like she's like 70.
There's an element of this that really feels like this is how I really feel like it would go down. Because, you know.
Or is it saying that millennials just solve all the problems with that? Dun dun double.
There's an opiate problem in America.
Okay, but I think I can make this show better in one fell swoop. And I think what we do is we Ned Stark this motherfucker.
You should kill off.
Yes, we kill off Seth MacFarlane. We make Kelly the captain. We make Bortus the first officer because Bortus is the best guy on the ship.
He's definitely the most professional.
Like we love.
Holy crap!
I fucking love.
Who's
Bortus.
his actor? Who's his actor?
I don't know. Some dude.
I like Gordon. I think Gordon's one of the funniest.
Yeah,
I like Gordon a lot.
I like
the black pilot.
Yeah, Black Navigator.
But he's supposed to be like really
John.
smart.
His name's John.
That dichotomy was one of my favorite. I actually really like the slime too.
Yeah,
Norm Macdonald as the slime. Yes.
It's
Yes.
like, oh, you walked through me in the episode where he gets caught in Bortus' stomach. That was hilarious.
I'm dark in a dark, damp place. I'm scared.
He ate me. Because but getting back to I think what do we know about Kelly other than she's an officer and she used to be married to Mercer?
Her father is like an admiral.
Yeah,
That's not even her father.
No, she has.
Is that her father?
No,
That's not her father. But her father is an admiral.
Yeah, but
that's why she has.
But what do we know about her personality? They haven't explored her at all.
not really.
The only thing we know about
They
her
had
is
a whole
she's-
episode. They had a whole Kelly episode where she became a goddess.
Yeah,
That
that was
wasn't
like my
about
favorite
her.
episode.
We
by the way.
learned
The
anything.
time dimensional shift thing with the planet.
Yeah.
Every 11 days, that was like the best sci-fi shit ever. I will continue watching this show just based on that.
Well, what do you want to know about
It's
Kelly to
fantastic.
qualify? What are you trying to qualify?
No, I'm just saying, for example, Bortus. We had a Bortus episode, and we know a little bit about his species.
Sure.
Alara, we had that one episode about her where she talked to her parents and was like,
Yeah, but we had
plan.
the Kelly goddess one, and we had the Kelly with the blue guy again.
So she likes to fuck around.
We haven't gotten
about
a backstory, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We do
I'm
have
saying we kill
character
off
plot
Seth
points.
MacFarlane, and we actually have an
All right.
interesting person.
The only way I'm okay with killing off Seth MacFarlane, and I'm sure he would agree, is if he came back as an alien.
Like a ghost, like a Jedi.
No.
He would love
Just
that.
another cast member. He's just another crew member on the ship now.
Like his twin brother or something.
No.
Are you saying
I guess they did that on Star Trek.
Are you saying beer festus? Are you saying that's what you do? You just
Yes.
kill off the main character and bring him back as his twin brother?
Sure.
Yes, we landfill.
Landfill.
I like it.
That's great.
I don't know. I like Seth MacFarlane. I don't, like I said, I traditionally don't like Seth MacFarlane stuff, and I found myself actually enjoying.
I feel like he has a good enough distance where he doesn't totally put his finger in all of the sour cream. I don't know. I just imagine you had this big.
You're saying that he's not double dipping.
He's not double dipping.
Let's talk about the episodes themselves a little bit. What were ones you liked? What were ones you didn't?
Yeah.
I thought that the episode obviously with Bortus and his transgender baby that focused on issues that are relevant to today.
I felt like that was a bold.
I thought it was a bold episode because it also throws something interesting into the equation. Is cultural norms versus societal norms. Like our society as a whole, we say, oh, women are important, they're valued, they're equal to men. Their culture, though, did not. Their culture saw women as an aberration. And so this is where you have kind of what we even see on in our own world with the UN and different cultures that have very different values kind of clashing over what is and is not a violation of a human right. So I thought that was really interesting. That was a really complex aspect of the show, which I really appreciated. And definitely any episodes that kind of went off and explored different species and aspects of this universe, I really appreciated. Loved the one with the robot taking care of the kids, the medic or nurse or whatever you call her, doctor.
I feel like a premise of this show is just human interaction. And that's why I'll go back to my original too, where I love the show because I feel like it's designed to be relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously the trans baby was a hot topic. The robot Steve, what's his name? It's not Steve.
No.
Anyway, the robot was taking care of the baby.
Isaac.
Isaac. Where did I name Steve from?
I don't know.
Isaac was taking care of the kids, and his whole premise is to learn about humans. And so it's just a good back and forth between, hey, this is kind of how you can take care of your kids. Hey, this is kind of, and so I like the premise of human interaction throughout the show.
Also, the episode where they had captured Kelly and Mercer in the zoo. That's a pretty basic, like, Star Trek trope.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like that, I feel like that's been done in every sci-fi series ever.
Like the very first episode of Star Trek called The Cage has a similar.
But they had creativity in the way that it was done. I have not yet seen in a sci-fi a holographic transportation module where they just had like that little space cube. They docked on it, and all of a sudden it was a fake ship. That's a pretty. It wasn't a cloaked ship. They didn't immediately warp to hyperdrive, and it was just a fake ship.
See, I think you hit on something which I think makes this like a lazy sci-fi show long term, and it's that they've made them too powerful. Because there's
what too powerful?
The Union, the good guys. Because like throughout this season, we've seen them completely cloak their ship. We've seen them disguise the entire ship. We've seen them disguise themselves on a personal level to infiltrate the crew.
We've seen them go completely flat. We've seen them go completely flat.
They're technologically way more advanced.
We already have a solution to how to kill the crew.
Star Trek. They're way more technologically advanced.
Like what made the Borg scary was it was like, oh, we have a solution. Well, they've adapted. Now we don't have a solution, and they're still coming.
Like I agree. The one premise that I liked about the show. Again, back to the human relation, but I feel like it would be impractical in real scenarios, is they have a no man left behind kind of, oh, we got to break the rules. How many times did they break the rules?
Every single episode.
To go get somebody. And so we need to Ned Stark this and kind of start losing some characters.
You said we need to George R. R. Martin.
Let's not get rid of Alara.
Alara?
You like Alara?
Okay, well,
Alara. I thought she was a little weaker.
No, she's
we'll see how long she sticks around.
That forehead. Something about that forehead is sexy.
Yeah,
I'd role play with that.
Do you know who's doing Seth MacFarlane in real life?
Who?
The actress who plays Alara.
No, they're gonna break up.
Yeah, that's Seth MacFarlane's girlfriend.
What?
They're gonna break it up.
No.
Yeah, she's
gonna how old is she?
She's 22.
How old is he?
43.
Oh,
that's almost double the age. One more year for Seth.
And if you see pictures of her without,
it's
like,
not that my disapproval matters, but I feel like I have at least.
I'm gonna say kudos to Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah.
Huh?
Say kudos to Seth MacFarlane.
Like as long as he's not Weinsteining it.
As long as he's not Weinsteining.
As long as she is at her own liberty to leave at any point in time to come to me.
Or Tom Cruising it.
Laura, if you need help, you know where to find us.
If Scientology.
He's been accused of it, I'm sure, due to his interest in musical theory.
Rape, or any of the above are involved.
You know what? I will give him credit. We did not have a musical episode, and I want to say thank you, Seth. Thank you very much.
We did have a karaoke scene. We did have a half karaoke scene that was hilarious. That was so good.
I love that.
Man, Boris was about to sing Titanic.
Yeah.
I do want to say it has been a weird trend that almost every show after Glee had to have a musical.
Yeah, because people like it, and I hate it.
I love musicals.
After Glee?
After Glee came out, every major show, every major sitcom had like a musical episode magically in the middle of it.
Scrubs did it. How Much Your Mother did it.
Everybody.
Even Stevens did it.
Even
Stevens did it?
Even Stevens.
Going back to what you were touching on, Jay, with the whole fantastical aspect of the show, I think that's why I have to classify it as a science fiction fantasy, as opposed to something like The Expanse, if you guys have seen that, which is much more gritty and real, drama-ridden, but it's more new age tech as opposed to like future tech. And like in the Orville, they can literally had a matter creator. What was it called?
Yeah.
Well, remember the episode where they went to the world where they had it was like capitalism and everybody upvoted or downvoted people based off their conduct, and that was like a pure democracy, and how foreign the idea of money was to the crew of the world. You know, that's that to me, that was definitely one of the things that's very Star Trek, because
Oh yeah.
I always think of like Star Trek as the perfect socialist society, blah blah blah.
And they talk about that in I think it's the next to last episode where when they're trying to convince the navigator to like be more, where they're saying Kelly actually says currency was
I love this substatement. I love
it
this
was
statement.
substituted with now your currency is your reputation
Yep.
and how well you do what you do.
Your value, your riches.
It's like
Contribution to society.
it's a meritocracy. And I think if that's possible, that's great. But what I was talking about with making them too powerful, I was talking more of like from a story aspect, where if you want to have a convincing villain, like this is why Superman sucks now, because like what can possibly make Superman scared? What can possibly make the Union cower?
The robot species, what are they called again?
A robot.
Isaac
Krill?
species.
Oh, was there superior?
Yeah, because that species and the Krill are supposed to be way more technologically advanced than the Union.
But we already know. We just turn up the lights and the Krill gets sunburned to death.
Well, the zoo
I'm saying
people, zoo people
they
were
solved the problem too quickly.
I think that was just like a one-off, like deal with the situation.
I think they're gonna invent.
I feel like this entire season was a pilot. I feel like the whole season was a pilot.
Prove the concept.
I mean, we already know that Seth MacFarlane is in it for the long haul. How many seasons of Family Guy? Come on. How long can you sit in a voice booth? So,
I mean, he's making all the money since he plays all the voices.
I'm pretty sure it's neural networks at this point.
I think he just said every word imaginable with every voice, and they just have him.
Why not?
Yeah, and
in
it's
a
just
program, and they just
He's
like
going
write
to
it
listen
out.
to this. He's going to listen to this. He's going, why haven't I done that?
No, we're gonna get a
neural-
cease and desist letter. It's like they figured me out.
But what were we talking about?
the Orville.
Oh my god!
Ultimately, at the end of the show, I enjoyed it. I know Jay didn't like Seth MacFarlane and he wants to Ned Starkin, but I actually enjoyed his performance. I hate him less than I've ever hated him before.
I hate him less than I've ever hated him before.
Yeah,
I liked him in person. I felt like I could relate to
a lot of stuff he's doing now.
the bad jokes. It just felt like he wanted to do it for the sake of, you know what, this is my humor, and hey, you know what, some people like it. Yeah, I like it.
I did love that Josh Traeger was the blue alien.
Yes.
Josh Traeger.
It's,
No, it wasn't.
Oh, you mean Rob Lowe?
Yeah,
Rob
Lowe.
Lowe, but I mean, it's not Josh.
It's Chris.
It's Chris Traeger.
For anybody who hasn't seen Parks and Rec.
I love that. Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah,
Rob. No,
He has such like a bubbly personality, and even though you wanted to hate that blue alien,
yeah,
he kind of liked
no, Rob. That's what his character is known for. Just like the innocent, purely innocent.
except for Wayne's World.
Well, except for freaking what the Pope? What's that series called? Where he's like Satan or something? Is it?
That's not him. You know about the young Pope?
No. He's plays the devil. In a series.
that's called Lucifer, and it's not him.
Same with the current one?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's not him.
He plays a dark character somewhere.
Wayne's World.
Wayne.
He's the bad guy.
There's another movie.
I hated that episode though. The one with the blue guy?
Yeah.
Which one?
Oh, the Pheromones episode?
Yeah, the Fairmont episode. I thought that was that.
It completely gave like such a pass to Kelly too. That was kinda like maybe.
And the you could see what was going to happen a mile away, where he's like, "Oh, these two races are about to like go to war. Hey, guess what? I'm just going to rub up on them." And you saw that coming halfway through. You're like,
I was too distracted by the glob guy having sex with the doctor.
That was really weird.
that was weird.
I was kind of into
I
it.
feel like Seth MacFarlane wrote the entire series just for that scene.
I did not expect them to show as much as they showed.
Yeah, right. It didn't leave
Like
a
it
lot up
didn't
to the
really
imagination.
show much, but I mean, like it showed enough.
I mean, it felt like some classic Japanese style.
Eric, are you
stuff.
saying you gift that for later?
I gift it for later. I'll gift it to you later. Also, I'll gift you the gift.
Please don't gift it.
I'll gift you the gift. It's in your email.
All right, so I think one thing I want to do is I want to go around the table, and I want each of us to rate the show. I think this is something we should do for each show. Give it a rating. We're gonna do out of 5.
Let's do out of 10. Out of 10.
Want to do out of 10?
Yeah.
Okay, do out of 10.
All movie produced 5. Wait.
Well, we're not movie critics, and we're doing something different. 10,
All
9,
right.
11. Let's do 11.
No,
So let's start with Eric. Eric,
out of 10.
1 to 10. What do you think of the Orville?
1 being the worst.
All right. There are obviously different levels that you can rate this on. You can rate on quality of acting. You can rate on quality of production, the overall script and writing.
Looking at all those together, adding it into a metaphor.
I get that. Well, I mean, building up here. There's I feel like overall I would give it a 6 out of 10 with room to grow. I feel like it's definitely a pilot season where they didn't go into a lot of Kelly's background. So I feel like it was not so aimless, but now they have a lot to dig with. And so, and I definitely agree with they're too powerful at this point. There needs to be some real conflict. And so right now it's just a fun, relatable, oh man, if I was in that situation, that's what I would do.
So Eric gives it a 6. So you might have already answered this, but follow-up question. Are you going to watch season 2?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Adam.
6.5, and yes, I will watch season 2.
All right.
Jay?
I'm going to go with a 6, and yeah, I'll be back for season 2.
I'm going to give it a 7, and there is room for improvement, but honestly, I feel like a lot of sitcoms that we see these days are pretty much like the standard 3-set sitcoms, where you have the house, the living room, and like the office. And those are the only 3 places that anything ever takes place in the story. And for me, this one was it still felt very sitcom-y, even though it was a little bit longer. It was the 45-minute setting. But it had all these different scenes. They didn't really cut any corners with any of the special effects or any of the costumes. They didn't feel like they cheaped out on the different alien races. So because of how much they put into it, I feel like it got like a 7. But at the same time, I do feel they could probably tighten it up, give it a better overarching story, maybe some type of nemesis that,
Con!
Yeah, a con. They need a con. They need a con for Mercer. And I think that they need to redeem. Seth MacFarlane needs to redeem himself in Jay's eye. So
No, I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm saying that.
I mean, you did not strike him. I mean, that's a pretty extreme response.
I'm saying the show would be better without it.
I'm not saying I didn't like him.
I'm not saying it's a bad show.
I'm just saying
it's his show and it would be better without him in it.
I think you killed him off the show just slightly better.
It'd be a lot better, I think.
So, who would you put in his position?
No, don't replace him.
Oh, okay. Just rank everyone up.
Yeah, well, like
How about this? Alternate curveball.
Curveball.
Seth MacFarlane gets captured by the Krill, brainwashed, becomes the nemesis of the Orville. And that's how it continues. It still keeps him in. It still keeps him in.
You look cute as a board.
Yes, absolutely. Flip him. So now he's still in it. There's still interaction. There's still like the comedic stuff. But now he's the bad guy, and it's following Kelly in the Orville.
I say he dies. They have a funeral. They shoot him off into space, classically, and then he goes through that phasical universe thing, and he goes from death to life through the phase shift, and then he lands on that planet that has now 2,600 years in the future, and they all hate Kelly because she was the original goddess that betrayed them. So that one planet where Kelly was once the praised herald of the universe, she is now the arch nemesis that lied to them in the beginning.
One quick question, Eric. Have you ever seen Star Trek 3?
Is that basically the premise?
Because you very nearly described the plot of Star Trek 3.
They shoot him through a black hole.
They shoot him into space. He lands on a planet that's like, it's terraforming. And so he terraforms with the planet and grows up throughout this movie.
It's funny.
All right, so
Ruth, I want to touch on one aspect before we close out. We talked a lot about the comparison to other sci-fi movies. What about other space comedies? Because you said you liked it for the fact of the scenery. What about outer space? And aren't there a couple other
Spaceballs?
I mean, like the
That's
one that I can
really-
think of is Red Dwarf, and like that's
Man,
so
Red Dwarf's
different.
so
You can't
different.
really.
What about outer space?
Other space was like 99% inside the like main area of the spaceship.
It was kind of like a set comedy.
It was a 3-set comedy. It was 3 spaces of the spaceship, and they just moved from room to room to room to room to room. And I don't really remember the.
I don't know what kind you would call
outside.
that. Is that just low budget?
No, it's just a classic 3-set sitcom. Like that was basic. It's, sitcom in my mind is very similar to stage plays because you have like 3 or 4 scenes.
Or my wife and kids is all over the house on the couch.
Think like
Yeah,
the
they usually call it multi-camera because you got 3 cameras. That way, you don't have to do it multiple times. You just do it once, and then you get your.
It's probably like a live. It's probably like a.
You don't have a
Like
live
that's
studio audience.
you only have 3 walls. Like that's how TV used to
Fresh
be.
Prince was almost like that.
Yeah, Fresh was definitely like that.
Yeah, like that.
They had the school and they had. Like,
I don't know if they
other
walked from
concepts.
like the house to the
Like
school.
Home Improvement, 2.5 Men, Big Bang Theory.
I think for season 2 though, they do need to keep on that veteran and just have him keep bringing in those sci-fi plots because I know he's probably the guy who came up with that
Oh, yeah.
shifting planet.
Or like the 2-dimensional thing.
Yeah.
But I love the mix of both. I feel like it's unique in the sense that it's a good mix of all those comedies that we just mentioned and legitimate sci-fi.
Because there's a lot of like fans of old Star Trek who like Orville way more than they like Star Trek Discovery.
Oh yeah, Star Trek Discovery is a new series.
Mhm.
I was not a fan. Like, preparing for this, I was like, what were some major plot points? And I just woken up, and I was thinking, where did that space cow come in? They didn't have a who had that space cow drive? Because if you've seen it, they drive with the space cow. That's almost the entire series. And so the whole series is based on this one
By the
space
way,
cow.
spoilers for Star Trek.
Yeah, I have not seen Star Trek Discovery.
They drive with a space cow.
Trust that's. I wouldn't call it a spoiler, but I love that description.
They drive into the ground, and they don't have as many.
Don't explain anymore. I want to watch this.
That's fine. That's fine. They don't have as many unique ideas as
Title of the show
Orville
is
does.
spoilers.
They don't have as many
Or
unique
spoilers.
ideas as Orville. So I like that Orville is right in the
Spoiled
fence.
TV.
I like that Orville is right in the fence between serious and don't take it too serious. And so I feel like from there they have a respectable place to go from because I'm not expecting a lot.
It's fair.
But
It's entertaining.
like I didn't want to compare it too much to Star Trek, but like now that you've said that, there's a lot of old Star Trek that they did really stupid shit. Like they went to the holodeck and they dressed up as Robin Hood and they played around Robin Hood, and that was the episode.
Oh yeah.
And so I guess to say that it to really shit on Orville for doing the same thing really isn't that's kind of unfair.
Because
Orville didn't have any filler. Star Trek had filler.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Well, Star Trek was also like 30
Yeah,
episode long seasons.
It had filler. It needed it.
I mean,
Definitely
they
true.
could do that for season 2 though.
all right, so overall,
Yeah.
the average is about a 6.5 for Orville for the team.
I'm gonna note this down.
We didn't do proper introductions at the beginning. I'm Aaron. This is Jay,
Hey.
Adam, and Eric.
I'm Eric.
That was Adam. Instantly ruining his fun. And so this was our review of the Orville. The goal is each month to at least get one television showdown. We had talked about maybe doing 2 a month. If we could get one done by the end of January, maybe we do 2 in February.
Let us know what you think we should review. We're looking for good
suggestions
for either underground TV
And
shows, something that either hasn't got a lot of notoriety or something that's worth the review. Let
but
us know what
needs
you
to
think.
be accessible through Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, or something of the like, preferably.
No, let's just make that a requirement. Because like there's too much TV
No,
out
If
there.
there's a suggestion of a really
Accessibility is
amazing
a given.
show,
Oh,
then we
guys,
can find it.
I've got the best show that's ever been made, but I'm the only one with DVDs. So for
Oh,
anyone to
wow.
watch it, you're gonna have to come over to my house.
You're gonna have to give it to me, and I'll transcode it, and you can all have it.
Well, we'll just say that if you ever find yourself in a situation where to offer us a DVD only copy of a TV show that you made,
Send it
is
to
not an
our
addition
PO
of
box.
yeah, mail it to Eric's house, which is the following address.
XXXXXXXXXX5.
Anyways, so for next time, let's talk about this for a second. The next show, or do we want to talk about this off camera?
We'll talk about this off camera. We'll decide.
Oh, it's just good.
We can tell them a couple ideas that we're thinking.
All right, so couple of ideas that are in the mix. Plebes, which is a British sitcom based in ancient Rome. We were thinking People Who Just Do Nothing, which is another British comedy.
It's just people just do that.
Just People Just Do Nothing.
Without the first just.
Wait, you just said Just People
Sorry,
Just Do
okay.
Nothing.
What's that one with the teenagers?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Nope.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Incorrect.
Glee.
Like he's a sociopath.
Oh, Degrassi.
You just watched the
Mr.
trailer.
Robot.
That's
Mr.
not a
Robot.
TV show.
Mr. Robot.
Community.
Mr. Robot?
The end of the
Yeah.
effing world.
We could watch Mr. Robot, but that's
Oh yeah, Mr. Robot.
that's way too long and branching. They
It's
have
a
to do
big-
multiple seasons.
It's a more in-depth show. I feel like we should keep it light for now.
Yeah, that's
like-
fine.
Closer to the Home Improvements or
No.
no?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh yeah.
Home Improvement.
Oh yeah. Love
That's
Home
terrible.
Improvement. Oh.
Hey neighbor.
Anyway. So, but yeah, so those are two ideas. Jean-Claude Van Johnson is a suggestion.
That was interesting.
That one looks
I would
really,
watch
really
that.
interesting. And what was the other one?
I'm looking at my computer.
Adam has suggested Satisfaction, but we cannot find it.
It saddens me. It's a great show.
Oh, you want to find something?
If anybody
Why
hasn't
didn't
seen
you talk
Love
to me
Sick,
about this?
Satisfaction.
Oh, used to be
Be careful.
used to be
there's,
Squirtle Recall.
three different ones.
They renamed it.
Canadian one from
because
2013.
Squirtle Recall is a terrible name.
What's a terrible name?
And it didn't like it was funny, but it did not at all capture the tone of the show.
No, it didn't. I started watching it.
Yeah, Love Sick, great show.
Well, anyways, we will be back with you at the end of the month with our next one. Stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast.
Tom and Jerry it is.